Greetings! Welcome to This, That, and the Other, where I react to, respond to, comment on, question, or otherwise propound on whatever I find of interest on any given day. Now, today's topic Welcome back, everyone. Here we are again, traveling multiple paths through Middle-earth. Now, I know how easy it is to get lost here, so I've prepared a map to indicate where everyone is at this point in the story. We have 5 storylines to follow, 3 real and 2 imaginary. Now, to start off, we have, in green, Gandalf and Pippin tearing across the plains from the Gap of Rohan to Minas Tirith. Then in blue are Aragorn, Merry, Gimli, and Legolas, along with Theoden and his Rohirrim, heading for Dunharrow with a stop at Helm's Deep. In red are Frodo, Sam, and Gollum, stealthily moving from North Ithilien to the Crossroads and the bridge leading to Minas Morgul. The 2 imaginary storylines are shown in purple. Faramir's company in Osgiliath and Arwen and Elrond in Rivendell. Now, these exist only as Peter Jackson's hallucinations. They are not directly represented in the book, although a few bits and pieces are reported on at later times, but not many. Also notice the scale of miles in the lower left. This will give you a feel for how long we still have to travel before getting to the climactic battle. So let's get going. Time's a-wasting. Now, methodology will continue as in the previous episode. We will primarily follow the printed version, referencing film scenes where appropriate, with captions indicating the degree of difference. There are exceptions, of course, and we'll get to them in a minute. We have a choice of 2 starting points. One is one of Jackson's hallucinations. Let's get that out of the way. Arwen is heading for the Havens, has a vision of her future family, heads back to Rivendell to confront Elrond. He sort of semi-relents and reforges Isildur's sword, Narsil. Forgetting that he actually reforged it back at the Council of Elrond in the book. And Aragorn has been carrying it ever since. So we've just saved 4.5 minutes of screen time. And here are the exceptions. I am reluctantly willing to admit I kind of understand why Jackson keeps jumping back and forth between the 2 main storylines. It does help to keep the timelines in sync. Yes, it's jarring to keep getting invested in one subplot and suddenly be 200 miles away. But at least you know that it's happening now, not a week ago. However, the number of short jumps isn't really defensible. Fewer switches of longer duration would be much more palatable to the audience. Now, we still have 3.5 chapters to go before we finish with the 2 Towers book. The final 2 are quite definite in location and events, so will be dealt with in more detail. The other 1.5 are far more generic and of far less importance. I'll just plow through these to get them out of the way. Jackson would have you believe that Smeagol had a schizophrenic discussion with his Gollum reflection in a pool of water. Yes, he talks to himself a lot, but this didn't happen. So Sam didn't overhear him. So they didn't fight. So, etc., etc., etc.
Must be getting near tea time. Leastways, it would be in decent places where there is still tea time.
We're not in decent places.
Yeah, the tea time bit is in the book, as is...
Mr. Frodo, look. The king has got a crown again.
Only Frodo said it. They reached the bridge.
The dead city. Very nasty place. Full of enemies.
Frodo is once again drawn by some evil force. Sam and Gollum just managing to restrain him. They all jump in a ditch to avoid the hosts of Sauron now issuing forth. The parade seems to go on forever. There's two things. The incessant reaction shots of Gandalf and Gondor are totally unnecessary. They're just confusing and build no added tension. And there was no direct confrontation between Sam and Gollum.
Vic, you listen good and proper. If anything happens to him, you'll have me to answer to. One sniff, something's not right. One hair stands up on the back of my head. It's over.
Now, they start their seemingly endless climb. Now, this is described using Jacksonian adaptation technique number 4. Ignore the original source material and write a whole bunch of new stuff of your own. The salient points are: 1. There was not just one long, almost vertical stair cut into the mountain. There were a number of flights of stairs, separated by much less severe pathways. Only the first flight was as bad as the movie suggests. Most importantly, Gollum did not train Sam for eating all the lemons.
Sneaking off, are we?
Sneaking? Sneaking?
What were you doing?
Sneaking.
There was no violent war between Sam and Gollum. They hated each other, sure, but they did not come to blows. Frodo did not send Sam away. There's absolutely nothing in the book that even remotely suggests any of this. There's some misplaced dialogue. Back in Osgiliath, in episode 12, at about 1340 or so, during Sam's big emotional speech, he says that people in those old stories had lots of chances of turning back, but didn't. He actually says that here, except in a far less dramatic context. Also, at the end of the movie, they try to outdo each other, saying the other one had the greater role. And that also comes from this section. There are still 2 chapters left in The Two Towers that aren't covered in the film until later. I'll let them go for now, and let the rest of the good guys catch up.
We've just passed into the realm of Gondor!
Gandalf and Pippin arrive in Minas Tirith, and already there's a problem. We're not even through page 1 of chapter 1, and there's a major discrepancy. Pippin cries, "Look, fire!" Gandalf spurs Shadowfax to even greater haste. Quote, "The beacons of Gondor are alight, calling for aid." Unquote. The beacons are already lit. Pippin does not need to do his Edmund Hillary impression. They come before Denethor, who is somewhat different of a man than in the film. He's not as haughty, and is more willing to discuss rather than just dictate. Gandalf has warned Pippin about saying too much, or, in fact, anything at all. Not quite in the same words, but close enough.
Hail, Denethor, son of Exelion, Lord and Steward of Gondor.
Perhaps you come to explain this. You come to tell me why my son is dead.
Some differences in the story of who would go to Rivendell. Gandalf states, quote, "Boromir claimed the Arryn and would not suffer any other to have it," unquote. A complete contradiction of the previous Osgiliath scene.
Boromir died to save us, my kinsman and me. He failed defending us from many foes.
Pippin offered his service and took the oath of fealty right there and then rather than later.
How did you escape and my son did not? So mighty a man as he was.
The mightiest man may be slain by one arrow, and Boromir was pierced by many.
The three sat for an hour and discussed the happenings of the past 2 weeks, with Pippin being too scared to say much of anything.
You are not alone in this fight. Send word to Theoden of Rohan. Light the beacons.
The beacons are already lit.
Authority is not given to you to deny the return of the king, steward.
Rule of Gondor is mine!
Gandalf and Pippin were led to their lodgings. Gandalf left, and Pippin was met by a man named Baragon, the guard of the citadel, who spends the next dozen pages introducing Pippin to Minas Tirith and his new military life. Men marched in from the outlying territories, but no more than 3,000 all told, a mere drop in the bucket compared to what Mordor was sending. Baragon returns to duty, and Pippin meets his 10-year-old son, Virgil. The two compare themselves and trade boastful jests, leading to Pippin's not likely to grow anymore, save sideways. The passing of the Grey Company. Another deleted chapter that changes a lot of what's in the next few sections. So let's move over to our storytelling set. Meanwhile, back in Rohan, Gandalf and Pippin have left. The rest of the company prepares and leaves on their journey to Helm's Deep. They hadn't ridden far when a scout rode up from the rear with the news that there are horsemen following us. The company stops and turns to face them. Éomer calls out, "Halt! Who rides in Rohan?" The leader dismounts and walks forward with his hand held up, palm forward in a peaceful gesture, saying they were looking for Rohan. "Halbarad, Dunedain, Ranger of the North I am. We seek one Aragorn, son of Arathorn." Aragorn ran forward and embraced the newcomer. "Halbarad, of all joys, this is the least expected. Introductions all around. 30 rangers plus Elrond's twin sons, Elahir and Elladan. Theoden declares to Aragorn, "If these kinsmen be in any way like you, 30 such knights will be a strength that cannot be counted by heads." Elahir gives Aragorn a message from Elrond. "The days are short. If thou art in haste, remember the paths of the dead." And Halbarad presents a gift and a message from Arwen. "The days now are short. Either our hope cometh, or all hope fails. Therefore I send thee what I made for thee. Farewell, Elfstone." Note, that's farewell, not farewell. A very important distinction. Good luck, not goodbye. Aragorn tells Halbarad to hang on to it for a while yet. Many discussions are held and decisions are made. Merry pledges his service to Theoden. Aragorn is not to be found. As the company is about to leave, he comes up from within the deep, announcing that he must take the paths of the dead. He admits to having looked in the stone of Orthanc, to the horror of all. And yet, not only Legolas and Gimli, but the Northern Company all join him. They ride to Edoras, rest and eat a bit. They ride on and eventually come to the Dark Door. Then Aragorn led the way, and such was the strength of his will in that hour that all the Dunedain and their horses followed him. Quote, "But Arad, the horse of Rohan, refused the way, and he stood sweating and trembling in a fear that was grievous to see." Unquote. But Legolas did some elvish horse whispering, and all was well. The Dunedain brought with them Aragorn's own horse from the north, so he didn't ride Hasselfell anymore. And remember, Brago never really existed. Aragorn entered, the Dunedain entered, Legolas entered. Only Gimli stood alone.
Well, this is a thing unheard of. An elf will go underground, but a dwarf dare not. Oh.
Yep, that's what he said. He did not say he'd never hear the end of it, though. In a large space, they came upon a mail-clad skeleton in front of a sealed door. Here, Aragorn turns and cries, "Keep your hoards and your secrets in the accursed years. Speed only we ask. Let us pass, and then come. I summon you to the Stone of Eric." There's no answer. Only a cold wind that extinguished their torches. The company found their way out, mounted their horses, and sped towards the Hill of Eric. Both Legolas and Elladan reported the dead were following. No underground city, nor thousands of skulls. The fact that they were underground is really the only similarity between the two versions. Finally, they arrive at the stone. Aragorn could not have seen the Corsair ships on the water since they're 300 miles away. What he did do was cry out, "Oathbreakers, why have ye come?" And a voice was heard out of the night that answered him, as if from far away, "To fulfill our oath and have peace." Aragorn bade Halbarad to display the gift he had brought from Arwen. He unfurled a great standard of black, but any device upon it was hidden by the darkness. To be clear, Elrond's sons came with the Dunedain, but Elrond himself never showed up. And he did not bring the sword that Aragorn already had. I think we need to gather our wits after that. Let's pause now and continue on a little further down the calendar. Now click any of the buttons you want, and thanks for watching. We'll make it through eventually.